It took King Solomon 7 years to build his fabulous temple. In 7 years, in the same corner of the globe, a city will begin to rise, and not just any city. A green metropolis that makes its own power, makes cars redundant, and makes no greenhouse gases. It's a mammoth challenge, and there's another. Construction itself has to be green, carbon neutral, and zero waste. In this unprecedented undertaking, the construction team is building the city of tomorrow, or setting themselves up for a fall. Today, as oil reserves dry up, engineers and scientists are inventing new ways to power our cities. Solar, fusion, wind, and visionary architects are inventing new ways for those cities to operate. By 2016, a city will start to sprout from this desert to house some 45,000 people and employ another 40,000. It will boast a university, the international headquarters for renewable energy, a manufacturing hub for solar power and desalination, and some 1,500 businesses. The whole city will be linked by family-sized vehicles powered by homegrown electricity, known as the Personal Rapid Transit System. This city will be called Masdar, Arabic for the source. And the source of the city is an unlikely place. Abu Dhabi is the largest of the United Arab Emirates. In the 1950s, it was a small desert kingdom, but the oil boom transformed Abu Dhabi into a city-state metropolis. The kingdom is believed to sit atop 8% of the world's known oil reserves. But cheap, abundant oil has also made its citizens some of the most polluting on Earth. Inexpensive energy means year-round air conditioning, big cars, and energy-guzzling desalination. Per capita, Abu Dhabi has one of the world's highest GDPs and one of the world's biggest carbon footprints. The rulers of this oil kingdom have taken steps to soften that footprint. The UAE was the first OPEC producer to pass a law to reduce gas flaring. In 2006, Abu Dhabi itself went even further. It drafted a blueprint for a green city.
They decided to embark in this campaign where they divert from an economy that is based on oil and gas to an economy that would be based on innovation and sustainable energy. The Masdar initiative is a tool to help Abu Dhabi reach that stage.
Sanad Ahmed is in charge of delivering Masdar's first development and one of the most crucial. The Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, a teaching and research campus whose whole mission is renewable energy. The institute will be built in 4 phases. The first phase includes 2 laboratory buildings and 101 apartments for postgraduate students from around the world. The ground floor will house a canteen, classrooms, shops, and prayer rooms. And the signature building of the whole campus will be the shell-shaped library. Sanad has 18 months to deliver the first phase of the institute. Imagine the pressure. Building a college of sustainable construction in a sustainable way. The institute will rise here, amid 5.5 million square meters of abandoned date farm.
Mark,
the size of nearly 1,000 football fields. Wise men don't build on sand, and project manager Mark Bugg is pretty smart.
How are you, man?
How are you? Okay?
How's it going?
Not so bad, not so bad.
What's going on here?
Well, last night we managed to get in probably the best production we've had, about 19, 20 piles. So we've just now started progressing the new drilling.
Okay.
Next batch of 20 piles we're doing.
Surprising as it may seem, the ground level here lies only 6.5 feet above the water table. So the entire institute will be built on a platform raised 31 feet off the ground. Work proceeds by drilling a hole for the pile and extracting the sand and dirt. A framework of steel rebar is dropped down. Then crews fill the framework with concrete. But at Masdar, they're not just building a green city. The way they build it must be green too, including the materials they use. Just making ordinary cement is believed to create 5% of total CO2 emissions worldwide, which makes cement manufacturing the third biggest greenhouse gas culprit, after transport and energy. Mark's team has replaced over half of their cement with an industrial byproduct called GGBS, or ground granulated blast furnace slag, a leftover from making iron.
Now, regarding the concrete mix,
Yeah.
it's sustainable.
Sustainable.
It's GGBS,
Yes.
60%
Yes.
sustainable.
Yeah.
So, again, that meets our requirement.
It meets the
for
requirements.
sustainable city.
It does.
To stay on schedule, project manager Mark Bugg will have to drill 12 piles every day in the next 5 weeks.
Which number is this?
Which pile number?
Which pile, yeah.
This will be about our 138th pile.
Wow. And that's in less than 10 days?
Less than 10 days.
138 piles.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Atop hundreds of piles, the Masdar Institute's foundations will rise. Sanad and Mark are laying more than the foundations of buildings. They're laying the groundwork for a new way of life. London is home to Foster & Partners, the renowned architectural firm that designed the master plan for the entire city of Masdar and is now working on the campus for the Masdar Institute. Sanad arrives at the firm's headquarters with Mohammed Nawara, the man in charge of design and delivery for all of Masdar. Meeting with them are Ross Palmer and Edson Yabuki.
The real kind of aim for the whole campus when it's completed is to try and create a major focal point, a heart to the scheme. And so the position of that heart is very important relative to the urban infrastructure.
The main concept is to keep the laboratory buildings towards the center, forming the heart, forming the action of the university.
The Masdar master plan is revolutionary, setting out a high-density city with a raised ground level that will be zero waste and carbon neutral.
Primarily, the whole Masdar master plan concept is to allow a very controlled and narrow streets that open up into courtyards. Yeah, so the release of the space.
Contemporary Abu Dhabi is inspired by modern America. Wide streets, big windows, and air conditioning. An energy-guzzling design in this hot climate. Traditional Arab cities boast narrow streets that are self-shading, wind towers, and courtyards. The architects have designed Masdar City on these principles, making the most of natural heating, cooling, and lighting. Abu Dhabi has a desert climate. Year-round, nights are 8 to 10 degrees cooler than days. The architects harness this temperature fluctuation through a natural phenomenon called thermal mass. In the shaded areas of the arcade, walls and ceilings are made from thick concrete. At night, they cool right down. So during the day, they have a lower initial temperature than the surrounding air. The walls and ceiling act like a heat sink, absorbing heat from the atmosphere. To further cool the city, a giant wind tower will use the natural movement of air to refresh streets and public spaces. Sensors will detect wind direction, then open vents. The wind blows down the fabric tube due to differences in pressure. Solar panels will supply most of the 220 megawatts of energy that the city will need. 80% of the Institute's roofs will be covered by these panels, which will feed energy to the local grid. The panels have been deliberately pushed out to shade the street below and to let people see where their energy is coming from. But some can't stand the view.
I wanted to ask about whether it's actually worth putting these PV panels on such a beautiful roof. And this is a beautiful roof. The shell form, it's iconic, and yet at the same time we're talking about covering it with these panels.
I think it's an opportunity missed if we don't do it.
And it's an opportunity missed if we don't put the panels on.
In terms of area, I mean, any roof area that we don't use for PVs is the thing that I'm going to get shot for. So, and also,
I think you need to revisit it because I think it's going to look awful. I think it'll look awful, to be honest with you. It'll look like a dog's breakfast to put these panels on that roof.
I think Kevin is right. If it looks awful, it's wrong, right? So we need to plan and to choose the right material, the right technology to cover it and take the most out of it, and yet keep it beautiful, because that is the icon we're looking for.
And it will be the landmark of Phase 1A.
Sustainable construction is still a new idea. Many of the contractors arriving at Masdar need a crash course. New arrivals are briefed on Masdar's targets by sustainability managers Margaret Cederoth and Lloyd Clark.
So, why go green? That's what we're going to talk about today a little bit. Carbon neutral. Mohammed, do you know what carbon neutral means? No, exactly. Carbon neutral is a little bit of a fuzzy term. Even university professors get a little bit fuzzy when they talk about carbon neutral. What we want to do as a project is to minimize how much energy we use, minimize how much embodied carbon is in the materials, and minimize what goes into the building, how that building operates, so that that carbon can be offset through other practices. That is how we will achieve carbon neutrality. So that's what carbon neutral means. We're getting back to zero so that it's neutral. All right, zero waste is pretty self-explanatory. Zero waste.
What we want to start with is the small things. Recycle or reuse whenever possible. I mean, that goes back to our waste issue. Everything needs to be recycled. Anything that is recyclable, you should be recycling. There's bins out there, there's skips where you can place your recycled materials, okay? You're all kind of sitting there looking a bit stunned at the moment, so I just want to make sure everyone's okay. Has anyone got any questions at this time?
So your first audit will be the end of January. So that means you have 6 weeks to get everything perfect, everything in order out there on site.
In 6 weeks, Meg will see whether carbon neutral and zero waste construction is just a theory or can become reality. A landmark. Masdar's first tower crane is going up. These giants stretch up to 50 meters. They allow heavy components like formwork and columns to be prefabricated, then moved into place. A huge time saver. Leftover materials will be bundled up, and the cranes will swing them off-site to be stored for recycling. Before the cranes are erected, engineers create a plan of each crane's radius. Then they calculate where to place the crane so they can cover the entire site. The Masdar Institute alone will need 5 cranes. The skeleton of Sanaj University is beginning to emerge.
Nest 1A is divided into 4 sections, or 4 areas. What you see here are the finished pile caps with the piled trimming, blending, finished already. Those here belongs to area 2, which is the residential blocks. Area 1 is the labs with the classrooms. So this is the first erection now of the columns going up in Area 1. There's the library, which is Area 3. And then in that direction where you see the cranes are Area 4, which basically is the rest of the podium level connected to the street level.
The funding for the entire city of Masdar comes to $22 billion. The government of Abu Dhabi put up the money as a loan, so Masdar must not only be sustainable, but profitable, starting with the work on the institute. Sanad has to deliver the institute on budget, so he must be tough on costs.
Can you send me this in soft copy?
Sure, no problem.
Again. The whole thing. So this is only the price for the furniture.
You can see this under the budget. What we have, bill number 2 with the construction cost.
But that number is absolutely rejected. I can tell you that.
All right.
Right now.
Okay then.
While Sanad worries about cost and Meg worries about carbon, Mark Bugg has his own concerns.
Good afternoon, fellas. Hello.
Safety.
Okay. Good. All your glasses on? Glasses on?
Over the past few years, dozens of workers throughout the UAE have died in accidents on other construction sites.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, okay? You need to do me a little job. You make sure that we've got some proper steps up there so they can get up, yeah? Steps, access. But you best go get an English foreman then, eh? Go find me someone who can speak English so I can explain to them. You must have proper steps.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to be climbing up. You can fall off. So let's have some proper steps.
Okay.
Okay? You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah? Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, on all.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Mark has worked in construction for 29 years. This is his first job in the Middle East, where the language of safety is sometimes foreign.
How did you get up there? Yeah? How did you get down? Fly?
Right now, Masdar has more than 300 workers on site, from American to Indian to Chinese. And they all have to learn the same language of safety.
It is very, very important to us that you stay safe out here and can go home as you came to work.
Safety में जाना पड़ेगा, ठीक है?
送大家每一个工人回他自己的家。 这是我们最大的责任在这里。
Mark isn't the only one policing the site. So's Meg. Meg gave the contractors 6 weeks to make the site environmentally friendly. Time's up. Meg is about to conduct an audit on the Chinese contractors Hip Hing. Lai Fun is their environmental manager. First item on Meg's checklist, types of materials used.
This is the stuff that came, and it's sourced from China. And you can see it's not as well put together. You can't reuse it as many times, which is what we want. This is good. It's very sturdy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've spoken with your procurement guy.
Yes.
You've talked to them about the quality of the materials they need to bring, that they need to look for sustainable sources, they need to be ISO certified. You've spoken to them about that?
Yes, it has been emailed to the procurement in the HQ and also the management staff here. So that when they choose materials, especially wood, it must come from sustainable sources. So we give them a list of countries that is,
follow good forestry management practices.
Like Sweden, France,
Finland,
right.
Sweden, right.
Next item on the checklist, recycling.
So this is little concrete rubble bits.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. There's no concrete rubble bit sign though. These are the recycling bins?
Yes, that we are going to use.
Did they just get emptied or they're just new?
Actually,
there's the sign.
was damaged. It's supposed to be like this.
Okay. So signage needs to be maintained.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Maintain signage.
Maintain signage.
Yeah.
Right.
Rubbish. Okay, good.
Next item, disposing of hazardous waste.
The hazardous waste.
Hazardous waste.
You seem to have accumulated more hazardous waste. Some of it's, I know, the suspicious
Supposed to be inside.
particle. Okay, this we gotta fix.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's any kind of remaining fuel, oil. It's nothing we want. It's anything that we don't want to get into the ground. The remnants of paint receptacles, because those have to be properly disposed of.
Right.
It's oils, it's paints, it's adhesives, thinners.
Thinners.
Those are all double bagged and
Gloves.
dried out.
Contaminated gloves.
Contaminated gloves.
Right.
Okay. So no, it is not being stored. It's being stored kind of correctly. You get a 1 for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Meg grades contractors on each item on her checklist and collects data on the amount of CO2 produced.
Yes.
Time for Hip Hing's report card.
Right. Whew. Have a seat. And the site is generally following good practice. Although we still have a few issues around the waste area, it is everything is being separated really well. You understand that it needs to be done. People on site understand that it needs to be done, so that's very good. You're relieved, aren't you? Yeah. Yes. All right. So now it's just moving forward and continuing.
Right.
So
Yeah,
thank you. Good job.
Yep. We will keep improving.
Yes, you will keep improving. So next month will get harder. Yeah. So do I constantly harangue people? No, because I'm not really a haranguing type person, but I think they all know that I'm always there sort of watching, and they know if they do something wrong that eventually I'll come to them and look very sad, and then they'll feel bad. And they'll say, well, I didn't have enough time. And then, yes, I definitely have days where I'm fed up. It's the same with the people who control the schedule. There are days where I'm sure they throw down their notebook and are like, forget it, we're never gonna get this done on time. I throw down my book and go, okay, it's never gonna be sustainable, it's driving me nuts. And the cost people are like, we'll never afford it. You know, everybody has that moment. So certainly I have moments of, boy, sustainability. Lost one today, got one the next day, hopefully.
Tight budgets and tight schedules sometimes force Meg to make compromises. Yet Masdar's two main goals, carbon neutral and zero waste, are already setting standards for construction in the Middle East. Like here, the rebar in this framework is made from 90% recycled steel. The great thing about steel is that it can be infinitely recycled without losing strength or quality. The Masdar project imports its recycled steel from Turkey, and because it's reused, saves 80% on the CO2 emissions that would otherwise be produced in making a ton of new steel from iron ore. Temperatures in Abu Dhabi vary from the comfortable 70s in winter to well over 100 in summer. The extreme heat often comes with high humidity, making it feel even hotter. Given Abu Dhabi's climate, it makes sense that most of Masdar's power will come from the sun. 90% of that solar power will come from solar panels on the city's rooftops and from a vast solar farm able to provide 10 megawatts of power. But But the climate is not as ideal for solar panels as it seems. Sand and dust are solar panel enemies, and hot temperatures reduce the energy production of certain types of panels. Samir Abu Zaid is Masdar's power manager. He's building a test field to try out various solar panels to see which will perform best.
We're laying down the concrete slabs for this, and next week we'll do the mounting structures and the panels. بس بعد سنة يعني. بعد سنة. يعطيك العافية. تعملها ليفلينج. ليفلينج مظبوط ها؟ ليفلينج مظبوط عشان ما نشيلش الحوض كمل الثانيين نفس المكان، واللي بيزيدوا عندك كلهم حطهم هنا. اللي هيزيد هنحط في الصف في الاخر صف. بالضبط. كله حطه باخر صف. مفيش مشاكل. نفس السبيسنج. هو فادي مخبرنا الصبح ان هو لو انشالوا دولت مش هنحط عشان في التربين في كهرباء تحته.
These few acres will hold some of the most advanced solar panels from around the globe.
What you see in the test field, we have 40 systems coming from 33 manufacturers. And basically they're coming from around the world. We have the United States, we have Norway, we have Spain, Japan, China, France, Italy.
While testing the panels, Samir is sending the energy they produce to the national power grid. So he's already offsetting some of the carbon emissions produced by construction.
The power generated from the systems outside is a DC power. It cannot be fed to the grid because the grid is AC. So what we do, each system is connected to inverter. This inverter takes the DC power from the sun and converts it to AC and then feeds it to the grid. Now what you also see here, these are power meters. These power meters tell you how much each system is generating at this time. You can see a variation of values of power. Some are high, some are low. This number should be near 1,000 watts, but it's now about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is not facing directly these panels, so you get lower production.
The panels already installed outside generate roughly 2,400 kilowatt hours per day. So thanks to the sun, Samir's already powering the equivalent of several homes. To stay on schedule, work proceeds in shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But an ambitious schedule is about to clash with an unyielding tradition. The holy month of Ramadan has begun. Many of Masdar's construction workers are Muslim. They can still work, but they can't eat or drink from sunup to sundown, not even when the midday sun raises the mercury to 105. To compensate, workers are given an afternoon break. They can also choose to work at night. Sanad is fasting too. He's still in the office at 8 and works a 10-hour day. No food, no water, and he's sweating to keep construction moving, so the university opens to students on schedule.
I think the experience of fasting all day is good because it makes me stronger, I think. Being in the field, under the sun, looking at things from different aspects, looking at these workers, spending, hours under the sun makes me be one of them, participating without water, without food.
A week into Ramadan, and Sanad must deliver a progress report to his boss, Dr. Nuwara.
Can you tell me just the status of the construction, where are you at?
Yes, and up to yesterday, we completed 27 pile caps, 9 columns. Slab will be, we'll start the slab by November. Up to now, we have about 313 labor on site, including day shift and night shift, 24-hour shift.
You're going to need at least 800, 700 labor. That's not going to do it.
I fully agree with you. By the end of October, we'll hand about 500 students, 500 labor.
500 labor.
By end of October.
If you don't have 800, you're not going to do it. And then you only have 9 columns. That's not much.
That's nothing. No. It's progressing.
At least double that.
The formwork is progressing well because the shift at night, they do it at night. Most of the formwork, and then in the morning they come and they do it. So formwork is progressing well. I think once we have more people coming.
How did Ramadan, the holy months of Ramadan, impacted your progress?
On the site, as you know, there are Muslim workers working on site. The productivity has gone down because people are fasting. They're thirsty. I have asked the supervisors to give the Muslim workers some areas to rest. Even myself, I feel myself also less productive and needing water all the time because it's hot. I'm outside in the sun, and then going aside and sweating. So it's a bit difficult. At the end of the day, it's the result, it's the outcome what comes behind this effort. Working 12 hours a day, putting your heart, your mind, your family, your social life, your friends, everything, and make this thing achievable with a deadline, because the deadline and meeting the mess on time is the most beautiful thing that will come at the end.
In 8 months, the 922 piles are in. The columns have been placed on top, and the construction team is laying down the podium, or pedestrian level. Underneath this level, cooling, electrical systems, and the personal rapid transit system will run. On top of it will sit the library, the labs, the apartments and shops. Several thousand men are now working in shifts at Masdar. The day team knocks off. With the first phase of building well on its way, the night team has started work on the next stage of the city's 9 construction phases. This one will include a gym, student union, and outdoor swimming pool. Samir's solar panel tests have allowed him to make choices for the 10-megawatt solar plant he's planning. He briefs Masdar's project engineers on the farm's design.
The plant will be located on the northwest corner of the site. Occupies about 200,000 square meters. We have already fixed the 4 corners of the site. We will start fencing the site next month. And the design will also start next month. Installations of panels to be completed by January.
The panels Samir will be using come from Germany and China, and they'll spread across an area the size of some 40 football fields.
How is that, the red flag part of it?
The red flags, yeah.
It was there, really?
It's our boundary, yeah, for the PV.
This is really huge.
It's the biggest in the region.
There's one there.
To the best of our knowledge, nobody has done a massive PV plant like this in the past.
When finished, the new plant will provide enough energy to power 30,000 homes. Despite the sacrifices of Sanad and the workers, building has fallen a couple of months behind schedule. Ramadan slowed them down. So did trying to maintain some of the sustainability criteria, like insulation.
One of the real challenges we had in the building is meeting the design criteria for the labs. We had to make sure the energy efficiency targets are met. You have also the cladding system for the laboratories and the residential, where the U value of the energy performance has to be met.
The cladding systems are the protective outer coatings. the buildings must be heavily insulated to minimize their U value or their ability to transfer heat. The building's energy performance is crucial if Masdar is to be a zero-carbon city. Inside the laboratories, the mechanical equipment to be installed is highly sensitive. Temperatures must be kept stable. This is how they're planning to do it. The first cladding layer is a strong but transparent layer made from ETFE, a product like Teflon that prevents sand and dust from sticking to it. The second layer is a buffer zone. The third layer is made from foil that reflects heat from the facade while bouncing natural light into the streets. The last layer is an airtight panel of heavy insulation. The design team decided they need to build a cladding mock-up to see if their ideas really work. The construction workers scrambled to finish the cladding mock-up, minutes before the senior design architects arrived from London. The mock-up trial is the moment of truth for the architects, too. Gerard Evenden, David Nelson, and Ross Palmer. They and Sanad are about to see the apartment design spring to life for the very first time.
Let me tell you, this is the best choice I've ever made, having the copper. Yeah? Because look at the texture, it's amazing. Oh, it's beautiful.
The main performance wall is the one on the inside.
The one on the inside.
Yeah, so this layer is just providing a shading to the copper. Yeah. The copper doesn't receive direct sunlight.
So the sun hits this and stays outside.
Like the laboratory, the residential facade is composed of 4 layers. The first is made from local sand and glass-reinforced concrete. It prevents the sun from directly hitting the inner layers. The second layer is a thermal buffer zone reducing radiant heat. Made from copper-colored 90% recycled aluminum, the third layer reconducts heat and ensures the airtightness of the facade system. Finally, the fourth layer, 250 millimeters of insulation.
What we can say is if we go with this colour,
yeah.
We're happy to go with this colour.
Just the slightly red.
Red
colour best.
Yeah. This is the best colour in the
looks a bit bleached.
Okay, so
Trevor Lampton is in charge of producing the apartment panels. He'll have to produce another panel for final inspection. Then 101 panels in just a few months.
And the time? Can you do it in the time?
Yes.
Because it really is highly pressured.
I'm the only one who's keeping up.
What we can do, yeah, you're right. What we can do is he can prepare one panel, we inspect it together, we agree, and then he can do the full production.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I think this is very interesting. This is the actual width of the street as well.
This is
it's set up to reflect that.
This represents the tightest street.
Yeah.
So.
To minimize exposure to direct sunlight and extreme heat, the streets are narrow just like traditional cities. The Institute is oriented from southeast to northwest to shade streets from the heat of the sun throughout the day.
Even, I was working over there the other day and I was sweaty like mad.
And then you came here, you felt better, right?
And I'm freezing when I came in here. It's amazing. It's good.
Six months later, and Trevor's approved apartment panels have come rolling out of the factory on time.
Yo, harness. You got his harness on.
Project manager Mark Bugg is overseeing the fitting of the panels to the Institute's apartments. Each weighs nearly 2 tons. The team is nervous. Just one slip and they'll damage the copper-colored metal panels behind, crucial for reconducting heat and energy performance. Once it's secured, they can relax. While the apartments go up, Meg Cederoth continues her fight for carbon neutrality.
Hi, Meg. How are you? I'm good. Did you get my email? Yes,
Thanks to her audits, she can track all the materials used in construction, where they came from, and how they were delivered.
All right, so let's look at the materials.
She's also tracking waste, plus travel of all Masdar's employees.
Drill and pour piles.
All these figures are entered into a special dashboard every month to show Meg and her colleagues the total CO2 generated.
We can confirm any details later if we need to check up on something. And the business travel, you actually have the flights. You have the flight data for
To
July.
take a building's carbon temperature month by month lets Meg track Masdar's carbon
And they
footprint.
had to go to China to double check
Yeah,
on
let me
contractor.
see. So we can easily measure the carbon footprint for each
Right,
employee.
exactly.
Right.
So,
last one.
waste. Yep, nothing's left the site except for wastewater from the toilets, and then the food waste because we don't want to attract rats.
So I have to input all this information on the SMS dashboard, and I'll let you know what's your carbon footprint for this month. So far, total tons of carbons is 63.9.
63.9 tons. Okay.
This benchmarking is unprecedented in the UAE and could help Meg cut the carbon footprint on future building phases. Another milestone. Samir's giant solar farm is under construction. The power it produces will be fed to the grid to offset the CO2 that Meg tracks, produced during construction. While part of the team finishes installing the racks, others position the solar panels. A solar plant in the searing desert, lemonade from lemons. Not only has Samir built a solar farm, he's also trained a local team who can use that knowledge to install more solar farms in the UAE. And he can be proud that he's built the biggest solar farm of its kind in the Middle East.
It is my brainchild. Yes, I am proud of it. I initiated the project and I will see it through completion. So I think God has given us so much resources to take advantage of. Just need to use our brain and utilize God-given gift for us, and we're doing it now. You know, it's long overdue, but better late than never. It's an investment for the future.
At the peak of construction on the Masdar Institute, thousands of construction workers were laboring round the clock on shifts. As work reaches completion, that number scales back. Despite setbacks and frustrations, the project is advancing, step by step, day by day, carried on by a team of people committed to a sustainable future. From 5.5 million square meters of desert, in just 18 months, the team has built 2 laboratories for research on renewable energy, 101 apartments for postgraduate students from around the world, and a modern version of the traditional Middle Eastern wind tower. the painting and decorating. In a few months, the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology will open its doors to its first students. A sustainable college, built sustainably to teach sustainable construction. Building the institute itself was a test, and the team has passed. It's too soon to say whether the Masdar initiative will reduce Abu Dhabi's overall carbon footprint, but Sanad Ahmed believes the know-how gained so far and the lessons learned can change the world.
I've been involved in this project from the very beginning, from developing the brief, meeting the faculty, appointing the designers, the consultants, the contractors, the subcontractors. I lived every problem, every success, every milestone we achieved, every milestone we missed. It's a lifetime achievement for me that I will pass to my kids. You know, I have 2 kids, which definitely they will know about this. And every time we pass by, I'll show them what we have achieved. So yeah, what we're doing right now is the future. What we are building right now is gonna have its effect for future policymakers to actually take what we're doing here and implement it worldwide. It's not only building a sustainable building, it's actually building a sustainable world.